The one industry that is somehow a bigger laughingstock than Western gaming is in fact the Western comic book industry. That has really been the case for, God, we're going on over a decade at this point in time. It's wild to think about, but hey, that's just the facts. I don't make them up, I just report them. But you would think, right, over the past 20 years with superhero dominance in the cinemas, that comics would see what's working in the theaters and then just try to cater to that instead of being the testing ground for all of the agenda, being the loss leaders for Marvel and DC as a means to, I don't know, take out all of your successful heroes and replace them with diversity hires. Wonder why all of those stories fail. Wonder why you have to close store after store after store, get rid of distributor after distributor, and get your ass kicked by independents time and time again. Well, it's because you make silly decisions like this, and I can't believe that this is a thing. I was shocked by this. DC to celebrate April Fool's Day 2025. You know, it's like, okay, that's kind of fine, right? With Harley Quinn Fartacular? What? Silent but deadly one-shot. Yes, sir. Wait, what? Okay. Oh my god, bro. Like, this is something... Okay. This is something that you would do when you're firing on all cylinders, okay? Maybe just like a little offhanded joke with a lesser-known character, but not somebody that you guys have been trying to make a thing for the past 20 years. The Harley Quinn archetype has ruined a ton of entertainment in recent years, including filmic adaptations of Harley Quinn herself. You get somebody perfect casting for, right, a cinematic Harley Quinn. You get Margot Robbie, certifiable 8 or 9, however you want to cut it. You give her 3 films to try to make it work, and every single one of them are unmitigated disasters. But hey, you might be able to save the original Suicide Squad with the air cut. Fingers crossed, right? But yeah, this is just a one-shot. This is just a silly little story that'll just not overall play into the ongoing storylines. But this is a perfect microcosm of an industry that is so far removed from reality, thinking that they can go ahead and do this and it'll either be received well and thought of as just, you know, a quirky little spin-off, or actually introduce, I don't know, man, anybody who would think that this is funny. Because I thought that they would deride, you know, the chuds that are out there for their lowbrow humor. But you're doing a fart, you're doing Harley Quinn cake farts. Like, let's just get it out there and say that, okay? There's a bunch of degenerates that write this shit. So it's another example of a comic writer doing a story specifically for them and nobody else. Because if you wanted to do a fart issue, like Swamp Thing or something like that, not Harley Quinn. It doesn't appeal to anybody, you freaks. But let's take a look at this. In a move so baffling, it's genuinely hard to believe it's even real. DC has announced that they will be celebrating the upcoming 2025 edition of April Fool's Day by publishing a Harley Quinn Fartacular, silent but deadly, an aptly named one-shot whose contents will center entirely, you guessed it, on the topic of flatulence. Like, what? Oh my god. Like, that art is, like, it's terrible, and if that's what you're using as promotional material, I don't know who you're attracting with that, but that's just, ugh. Yeah, that's gonna be the cover. Yeah, that's gonna sell 2s and 3s of copies. News of the one-shot production first bubbled to the surface thanks to DC's December 20th reveal and the March 2025 solicits. Therein, tucked far below the potentially promising teases of those given for Absolute Flash Volume 1, Number 1. So they're dragging Flash into that whole Absolute universe, which I don't read comics or anything like that. It's never really been my thing. I was paying attention because there's all of those recap channels that are out there when it comes to comics, and yeah, you could just throw it on in the background for a little light listening. But hearing about that Absolute Batman, it's like, that's an interesting premise to start with, but then I also heard that it went completely off the rails, and I'm not exactly fond of the whole idea of Batman wearing an axe head on his chest and not being the super wealthy peak of humanity, because that's the compelling pull of DC, right? Because you have the duality of man. You have Superman on one hand, the absolute, pun not intended, the peak of humanity, somebody who is completely unbound by any physical limitations. And what will they do? How far will they go? What lengths will they reach in order to solve a problem? And then you compare and contrast that with Batman, who is the ultimate human being, unbound by financial and mental limitations, but simply cursed by mortality and death by conventional means, making him a scrappy underdog who just gets buff and uses that as a superpower. Not what I would do with Batman. Definitely more of a Punisher story, but not a Batman one. But anyways, Absolute Flash which will introduce the world to that universe's incarnation of the Scarlet Speedster, and Justice League Unlimited Volume 1, Number 5. Its story apparently set to see the titular team up with the full might of the Legion of Doom was a surprise listing for the Fartacular. Yeah, Jesus. It's like, you also look at this art, and it's like, wow, that's tremendous. I don't really like the Flash symbol. I think that's a bit cringe. That's very try-hard, but that's also what I'm seeing out of this absolute line. It's very try-hardy, so at least it's on brand. Set to be penned by Fire and Ice, Welcome to Smallville, #1 writer, Joanne Starr, yes, and illustrated by Tales of the Titans, Beast Boy, Volume 1, artist duo of Ted Brandt and Rose Steen, of course. The one-shot will, honestly, there's no way to summarize it, solicit, yes, in a way that both succinct and makes sense, so let it just speak for itself. Oh god, is this what's in there? I've been holding in all my various worst bits of bubble guts for the past 30, oh Jesus Christ, I want to die already. 32 years, and has been all leading up to this epic expulsion, exclaims the book's description. Your nose will never be the same. You'll gag, you'll cry, you'll feel things you ain't even felt before. This fine publication is a celebration of all things past, present, and future. She gets paid to write comic books, huh? Sequential art's place in the annals of history is about to change with the release of Harley Quinn's Fartacular, silent but deadly, a comic that promises to have the highest concentration of gas per page. Oh, ever committed to print? Emphasis on committed, because everyone who worked on this comic is getting thrown into Dr. Fartley's home for no good gassy gals and guys. God, my teeth itch. Read the comic that Abraham Lincoln called a joy from fart to finish moments before he died. Wow. There was your opportunity to tell a different type of joke, okay, to actually have something clever there, but no. You didn't want to have John Wilkes Booth sneaked up silent but deadly on Honest Abe and helped him remove his top hat. Like, you didn't want to do anything like that? No? I guess you're saving all of your A+ material for April. Warning, it concludes, we aren't kidding. If you're grossed out by farts, then this comic isn't for you. No, I'd imagine it's not really for very many people. And that's perfectly okay, though I am judging you unless you want to put your feelings to the test, in which case this comic is for you. Holy shit, man. That's supposed to sell this book, huh? That's trash. Everything. Like, oh my god. It's just such a difference, because that's supposed to be more art. Harley Quinn, yes, falls under the sway of the magical fruit of Amanda Connor's variant of the Harley Quinn. Yeah, okay. Oh, so another variant cover. That shit looks like ass. Just going back to this absolute Flash. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but at least there looks like there was some effort put into this, as opposed to this just slop that wouldn't look too dissimilar to storyboards from the late 80s, early 90s over at Disney. Not saying that was trash, okay? That could end up just, dragging that stuff down and artificially bringing this up, but no, this is ugly. And what's with the lack of uniformity in costumes for Harley here? That shit sucks too. Typical comic book industry fashion, yes, alongside a standard cover illustrated by aforementioned Brandt and Steen. Its artwork depicted a cabaret dancing Harley Quinn breaking wind in particularly strong fashion. The book will also receive 2 variant covers, yes, provided by legendary Harley Quinn, Volume 3 artist Amanda Connor, and Wednesday Comics Wonder Woman, Volume 1, Ben Caldwell, respectively. And really, what else is there to say about the book? Yes, it's, oh my god, that is probably the dumbest thing I've ever seen, okay? That's better, but it's still not great. Obviously, it's all in service. At least it's in service of a joke that, I guess, kind of, like, you see it just in passing, right? Because this is obviously the other variant cover. That's not bad. That's not bad, but it's not enough to sell this atrocious book. What a stupid concept. And yeah, it's supposed to drop March 26, 2025, and bro, I would be surprised if anybody buys this, if this charts anywhere, because Harley Quinn is already just a dying premise to begin with. But also, the cringe is just palpable right now, but by the time March rolls around and we're in full James Gunn shill territory, well, it'll be very interesting to track and follow all stuff DC, because it's going to be a big year for them, and they decide to put out a fart book, huh? Yep, typical DC right there. Warner Brothers in full swing. I can't say I'm surprised whatsoever. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.